All right, if everyone rise, welcome everyone to the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please. Here. Here. Mr. Ross. Here. All right, the purpose of the special meeting will be to discuss the following items and provide informational facts about how the fire and EMS department is funded. Discussion about other township related projects. I'm going to do an opening statement from the Board of Trustees real quick, addressing our styrene leak that happened over in Whitewater Township. So, like I said, I'm Dan Blanton, the president of my Township Board of Trustees. Mike Robinson, the other trustee, Tim Bogart, the other trustee, Arthur Paul, Cindy Ogier, Jim Brett, our administrator, and our fire chief, Matt Sheen. Like I said, today is to provide informational facts about the fire and EMS department's funding. Today's format will be open to questions and answer forum. When we recognize you, just please state your name for the record before asking questions. As most of you know, earlier this week, we had a mandatory evacuation in our area due to the release of chemical styrene rail car located just across our township line in Whitewater Township. The fire department responded to provide mutual aid, work through the event with Whitewater Township Fire Department. Our administrator, Jim Brett, worked with the Whitewater Township administrator to keep us informed of what's happening. We also opened Cleves Town Hall for the residents of Cleves area, so where they could evacuate. That request came from Whitewater Township Fire Command, Hamilton County Emergency Management System. We opened that and it was not very well attended. We had representatives from Cleves there, representatives from Miami Township there also. The Miami Township Board of Trustees will be holding a special meeting in conjunction with Whitewater Township Board of Trustees this Tuesday, October 1st, 2024, at 7 p.m. at the Whitewater Township Community Center, located at 6125 Dry Fork Road. This meeting is to provide information for our residents that may still have questions. The village of Cleves has been invited to join us, and we expect to hear soon that they will have a quorum to conduct their presence as a special meeting, or they will just have representatives there. As you may know, anytime the majority of any public board or council meets to discuss public business, they are required to post public notices announcing the meeting and its purpose. As of now, we expect to have representatives from the Central Railroad of Indiana, INEOS, Whitewater Township Fire Department, Hamilton County Emergency Management Agency, and Hamilton County Public Health. And this is a brief summary that Hamilton County Emergency Management released. It says on Tuesday, September 24th at 12:47 hours, a single rail car, a 29-car train began releasing styrene from its pressure release valve at Central Railroad of Indiana Railroad near the junction of US 50 and Ohio 128 and Valley Junction Road from 14:13 hours on Tuesday, September 24th until 18:26 hours on Wednesday, September 25th. The recommended evacuation area was in effect for half a mile radius in all directions from the intersection of US 50, Highway 128, and Valley Junction Road. Whitewater Township was incident command on the scene, coordinated efforts with the federal, state, and local responding agencies at the incident site. Once the rail car stopped releasing styrene and determined to be safe, the car was moved to Indios for further mitigation. At 18:26 hours on September 25th, the wireless emergency alert message was sent to residents notifying them that the evacuation order was lifted. As of 8:30 on September 27th, Humboldt County transitioned to level 4 normal operations. Now, with that being said, I will refer to Ms. or the board.
So yeah, I just wanted to, I know we're gonna get into this more on Tuesday evening, but, this was a tragic, unfortunate accident that, we obviously had been part of. However, I would say that silver lining is that, I'm very proud of the response, that our fire department and our personnel, first responders, did to this situation. The cooperation from what I saw, between Miami Township, Levy Fire Departments, in addition to 10 other fire departments, so 12 in total, was just fantastic. And Chief Schumann, his personnel for everything that they did. And I think that from what we've seen, these things, obviously everyone wants to look at Palestine, and the response that this community had to this incident was lightning fast compared to what happened up there. The demand to get answers from Whitewater Township Board and Miami Township Board has been, I think you'll be very pleased with, and so I'm sure there will be plenty of other discussions to be had, but I'm proud of the our men and women that work at Miami Township Fire. So I want to Chief Schumann as well.
I'd like to kind of mirror some of the comments. This could have been a whole heck of a lot worse. You know, our chief, you and the department are to be commended for a great response. I think nothing is positive from the experience from anybody involved. I'm looking forward to interaction items to see how we improve more on a situation like that. Mr. Brett?
Well, again, the entire situation with, you know, if you have to have a situation like this happen, was handled excellently. I know that Chief Schumann had to, not only do we have to deal with what's going on there, we had to deal with what was going on in the rest of the township. And we had crews who responded to other incidents during this. So everything went as good as it could be, as far as I can tell. The communication was great between fire command and the administrator over Whitewater Township. I sat next to her most of the time. We were there for all the press releases. I think the public information officer did a great job of keeping the folks informed in the media. I'd like to thank Andy Knapp, Communication Center, for being part of that. And the communication officer was, or the public information officer was Mike Sitkey, who is the current chief of Little Miami Fire District. He's also a former assistant chief of Whitewater Township. And Mike sat on the board to interview Chief Schumann. So between things, he told me what a great job the chief was doing. So just another feather in his cap that we made a great choice in bringing him on board here and replacing him.
Would anybody like to address the styrene lake as far as what Miami Township did before we move on to the levy? Like Any questions for Chief Schuman or the board? Mr. Brett will be glad to answer right now. If not, we'll just refer to Mr. Brett to, questions.
All right, so, our newsletter went out with some, facts about the upcoming fire levy. So you have some information, there's copies back in the table back there, if you didn't get one at home. So we just like to open the floor up and try to answer any questions anyone has, but you can just, tell us who you are before you start. When the chief, Cindy and I will try to answer those with the trustees. We'll start over here.
You think it's a good idea for every, so we go down to Catherine and stable island, yeah, that's far.
It's never a good time to have banned for a lot. We are very conscious of that. And if there was a way we could fund our department and manage properly without that, we certainly would do it. We just feel like the plan that we have for manpower and things, require that we ask the folks for this funding. Chief, would you like to say anything about that?
Well, I think anytime you go down for funding, it's never a good time, especially during a presidential election. I think, and please correct me if I'm wrong, the renewal was up for November. Anyways, we're gonna have to put something in the levy on the ballot to renew the current 3.5 gallons that are coming off. He said he could come longer, so I think it was a decision, maybe before I got here, to go to look at an increase since that 3.5 was already going to be on the ballot.
Right. Many discussions with the finance committee.
We kind of guarantee you can have it in the people in order for them to see. It's whether that you guys have asked for them to donate or chip in on the service program. You get it. This area is playing first aid to them over here, fire department, everything else. Why should we be giving?
We have asked them, based on what they've contributed in the past. I'm going to throw some numbers out, and I'll be glad to specifically go over with them in depth if you'd like later. Currently, the village of Madison provides $40,104 in their contract with us for service. The village of Leeds in 2024 paid $252,394 for their contract with us. North Bend paid $189,135. And looking at trying to keep just our levy in, we fund our fire department in 2 different ways. Our salaries do not come out of our tip funds that we have available, but equipment, things like that can. So we have to fund our salaries, and we'd like to be able to fund our benefits out of fire levy. And for the first year, our proposed increase will take care of that. I think by year 3, we're going to be short on benefits, and so we can take part of that out of the tip. So our finance committee looked at the numbers and wanted to keep things fairly equal. So currently, Village of Madison contributes 2% of our levy income. Village of Cleves contributes 11% of our levy income. Village of North Bend contributes 8%, and Miami Township contributes 79%. With the 2 mills that we're asking them in addition to contribute, the Village of Madison new contribution to the levy fund would be $73,104. That's still 2% of what the total levy would be. Levy income would be if our levy passes. Village of Cleves, we're requesting $411,794. That's 12% of the levy income. And Village of North Bend, we're requesting $287,125 for service. in the future. That's 8%. And the township portion with 3 mills additional would be $2,799,850 or 78% of the levy income. So to answer your question, none of these villages are required to contract with us. They can contract with someone else, they can have their own department. So it's really up to them what they want to do.
They had a police, fire, and, light squad, where there's, what do you want to call, themselves. They're not gonna hire people that.
Well, we like to think that we're providing a good bang for the buck value of service for the dollars that they're spending. But it is still their option. They're not required to contract with us. So if they choose to do something different, they certainly can.
Comment on that then? Let's say the 3 villages decide to contract elsewhere. Do we still need the 3.5 and the 3 renewal just to keep the 3 houses here going?
Yeah.
And Chief, I'll ask you a question. What percentage of runs are made in Cleves, North Bay, as compared to Miami Township?
I think, with Reverend the percentages that we're asking them to pay are right in line with all of the
Actually, I have it. In 2023, Addison made up 12% of our Village of Cleveland made up 20%, Village of North Bend made up 6%, and 62% were made in the unincorporated area of Miami Township.
I have a question. If levy passes as is, right? New addition, what's the millage total for Miami Township resident? What's the total for the 3 villages? What's the millage? 1 mil, 2 mil, 12 mil, what, compare us to the village as a resident?
I have the total for Miami Township, renew the 3 and have the 3 additional, will be at 9.79 mils. Keeping in mind those renewals and the older levy, the continuous levy, those only bring in the same amount. That's not an increase. The only increase would be the 3 mil new levy. So I do not have the village totals, but I do have some local communities that we pulled up there to see where we're going to fit in. Looks like right now Green Township is receiving about 10.25 mils. Delhi, and I believe part of Delhi is the safety services levy that's split between their police department and fire department. So from what I can make out of the online stuff, the auditor's office, they're at 13.68 mils. Harrison Township contracts with the city of Harrison. They've got the best deal going. They occasionally do furnish a truck or something to the city fire department. But they pay 4.67 mils. The city of Harrison pays 10.27 mils. And Whitewater Township currently, including the 2 mils they pay for West Chat, is at 15.07 mils. I'm a Whitewater Township resident, so I'm very familiar with this. We're asking for a 4.5 mil increase in Whitewater that will bring the total millage for Whitewater at 19.57. So the difference in these is the tax base. Obviously, Whitewater has a much smaller tax base than we do. We have a much smaller tax base than Green Township and Delhi. So while 1 mill still costs $35 per 100,000 in value, the total assessed value in each community is different. That's why you see such a wide variety of different and what people are paying in taxes for their fire name.
I just think that if we're paying 9.79 mils, why aren't the villages paying the same? Why aren't they paying the same? Just ask the question. If I'm a resident, I'm paying 9 point, but what if it passes 9.79? Why aren't the three villages paying 9.79? I'm just asking.
Well,
Right?
my take on that would be that we're the majority of the service area. So, that's why we pay a little more because we serve more people.
I have a question for the fire chief.
Yes.
With the recent chemical spill in the village of Cleves, how many hours did the fire or throughout the night, and can you explain what happened?
So we got called right after 1 o'clock, and our folks didn't get back to the station until, I think, almost 10 o'clock. I was there until 3 in the morning, just making sure everything was day and school and all that kind of stuff. Several hours. From 1 to 10 is when our folks were there on that.
My understanding was there was a risk of explosion with the chemical styrene. There was a risk of an explosion of that car,
Sure.
and then it would have set off a multiple chain reaction with the other cars with styrene.
Yeah, so there were 21 styrene cars all together in that same area.
So if the fire department had cooled that car down, would the styrene have hit a flash point at some point?
Well, all that. So the rail car did exactly what it's supposed to do, right? The pressure leak valve activated like it's supposed to be, so it didn't. That's what it was exploded. But gas that was, or the vapor that was being expelled from that was flammable anyway. So all it really needed was an ignition source then. So anything can happen for sure.
So the fire department really, and it saved the day there with the cooling that down. If they had moved around the night to cool that down, there could have been an explosion.
That was really the only way to do it.
How many hours did the fire department work, and how many units were called?
Oh, I think he alluded earlier, there were 12 different departments total to come in and help in staging and backfill firehouses and other resources like the hazmat team and EMA, with your own folks, all that stuff. And then they flowed water on it from, well, 1:30-ish until 6:30 that next morning. And kudos to the police waterworks folks. They were there with us hour by hour, making sure that we had enough water to support that thing, and they were in talks with other jurisdictions to make sure that their water ran low, how to offset some of that stuff. So we could have done it without that.
If I can too, while we're talking about state waterworks, they were able to get a second high volume pump in service that never needed before. They worked their tails off to get that online so that we didn't run out of water. There wasn't concern about that. Dale Fairley's Hardware opened up for them after hours, but then whenever you do a plumbing job, I always say it takes 3 trips to the hardware store. But he was able to get them the few parts that they didn't have in stock, so they could get that done, and they're working to get that in. Really provided us the water we needed and prevented us from having to cross-connect with the city of Cincinnati State Waterworks, because there are a whole lot of issues when you start doing that Eric Lindsay's is going to be much better explaining than me. I just said that a lot of it is temperature and things, so Eric, Rusty, I don't know if Sandra was there, Tom was there, Sandra was there, do you know if there? So, but the guys at State Waterworks really stepped up and without them, we'd have, it might have been a different situation, we would have been bringing tankers in. So I think the, Lake Water, there's a great deal of credit, with this.
And so does the fire department.
Yeah,
Wait, what would have been the result if that thing would have exploded then? That one part that was having the problem?
It's hard to really say what that exactly looks like. The chemists that they have in that team, they can do what we call flume modeling. They take the chemical, wind speeds and everything else, we're getting a weather update every 30 minutes. And they can kind of project what that looks like if there was a catastrophic failure. And I think it went out half a mile or so. Was that initial blast though. So, that's if the weather was doing what it was doing when, when that happened. And who's there? 24 hours a day.
well, I think one of the things that, we came in after, Lynn, read our opening statement. So, this board, Levy Township and Whitewater Township, and, we're not sure if it'll just be representatives from the village state or doing like, if you actually have a whole council or necessarily.
There won't be a full council. There will be representatives.
So we are having a special meeting, they don't have a full board, and they don't have to have a special meeting, and they'll be attending a meeting Tuesday evening, that'll be held at the Whitewater Township Community Center. We'll have representatives from the Central Railroad of Indiana who own the track, from NEOs who actually own the product. Whitewater Township Fire Department Medical Director will be there to answer medical questions. Representatives from the Hamilton County Emergency Management Agency will be there, and also Hamilton County Public Health. So those are the people who are committed to be there right now. So just because the railroad is gone, doesn't mean that the townships and the villages are gonna leave people hanging. We're gonna keep everybody informed. We're gonna make every effort to let everybody know what's going on and how they can still get in touch with people if they need help and they need assistance. And I think cooperation between the village and the two townships is somewhat unheard of. Even folks at EMA said to me yesterday afternoon, I can't believe you guys have put this together that fast. This is something that normally takes a week or two to put together. And the trustee who was there from Whitewater Township said, this is the west side. We don't fool around. We want our people to know what's going on. So I think this is where we start with that.
The fire department did a great job.
Sure.
Oh, can I add to that?
Sure.
I'm the safety director of my county. And I was walking in Kroger when the mission started from the railroad. Went around, took a picture of it, got a taste of laughter, went back around, they started evacuating the store. I went directly to Three Rivers campus. 1,950 kids there. They were outside playing. I got a word from staff. Kids were taken into the school. Their ventilation system was shut down immediately. I set up a command there with Whitewater Township, and they were sheltering in place. The school was locked down for an hour, maybe not even quite an hour. And they found out it was styrene, and they increased the zone to half mile all directions. And at that point, command told me to tell staff to evacuate. And I looked up the MSDS on it right away to see what the health effects were, if you're exposed to it, and just to get an idea. And the school did a phenomenal job evacuating.
Later that afternoon, Mr. Hughes was over,
Do what?
I was gonna mention that later that day you were over picking up some stuff that goes here at the Whitewater Communication Center. And, he still had it about this, but.
I did correspond with the mayor, please tell him what I was hearing, and we had correspondence around that we were opening the shelter, and manning that shelter if needed at the town hall in Cleves. Thank goodness it wasn't needed, but the offer was there, and we kept it open until, we finally realized nobody was coming, so it was then shut down, but we put directions on the door, told them to relocate the drive-through road, and we put the same direction. Those people could travel around the hot road. And we were concerned about the residents of Township.
Mr. Malone,
Yeah, my name's Barry Moreland. Correct me if I'm wrong, how many years ago did we have a levy? 3 or 4? Okay, if it was 5 years ago, and I was always under the understanding with that levy, we were supposed to be able to put 4 firefighters in each house. Am I right or wrong? Staff. You weren't here, Matt. I'm asking the trustees.
I think so. That's what, my understanding.
That was the understanding for that levy, and to be quite honest with you, we never were able to fulfill that role, correct?
Yeah, I can tell you that. I think you're correct. What the solution is, I don't know. We did have on our newsletter, Chief, you can comment on this if you like to. 23% of the time, there's no fire protection. And that's what I believe, President, if I'm correct, that's what we're referring to, and it's not for firemen in each station.
That's a better question for the chief, but I believe that the amount of time that our units are not available, we'd be heading on mutual aid. Is that correct?
But my question is, we were supposedly going to try to have 4 firefighters each house with the levy that was passed X number of years ago, and it was hard to do that, if I'm not mistaken, by the lack of having enough men. And do we have enough men to do that now if we pass the levy? I'm reading on here, we're still 5 firefighters short, correct? We got 25 full-time, and we have 5 open spots. I'm assuming them open spots are for full-time firefighters because we do staff part-time, correct? Part-time employees do not or do receive benefits. They do not. They can get them, but they pay for them out of their own salary, correct? So I know we have increased our pay for our firefighters, which personally myself, I think was well needed. But if I'm looking at this, how did we survive in the past? It sounds to me somewhere along the line, the township is trying to run the fire department totally independent on a fire levy. So in the past, have we took money from a different fund, general fund or whatever, to pay for their benefits or possibly wages? And am I in the right direction here? And that's what we've done in the past?
In fire levy.
So basically, the whole change here is we are trying to make the fire department self-sufficient. With that being said, I'm not so sure everyone in this room understands how our funding goes here. Personally, I've been coming here for years, I didn't understand what the TIP fund goes to, what the general fund goes to, and because we cannot use the TIP fund for salaries, correct? That can only be used for general equipment. I don't think a lot of people in the township understand that. We've been beating that drum for months trying to educate. It's hard. It's very, very hard. But personally, myself, I think from what I'm looking at this, we are trying to fund the fire department on the fire levy alone. And I get that. But I don't know, are we really being honest with the public when we say that? We funded it before, but now we're going to try to fund it separately, so now we need an increase. Am I saying that wrong, or am I looking at it right?
I think you're saying, right?
Right, you're right.
Okay.
Right now, we're taking out like 600,000 or whatever more out of general fund. And
Okay,
our general fund in 2 years is gonna be, so that's one reason we wanna go with just the fire levy, because our general levy is up in 26. We don't wanna increase that, we wanna try and keep that the same. So, yeah, you're right.
in the very top, when it says random facts on here, more homes do not mean more funding. I am totally lost with that. I know a levy can only produce the amount of funding that the commission created for, I get that. But if someone builds a new home and moves up with it, there's income coming into this township. Somehow, some way, they're paying just like I'm paying. Where's the money? If it can't go into the levy.
So what happens is everyone else's tax is lower, right? So levy can only bring in so much, no matter how many houses get built afterward, right? So it doesn't matter if there's 400 houses built after that levy has been passed. That just lowers everyone else's. So the offer that comes into the town of that levy is still the same. It doesn't increase automatically. No different than when the state increased all the property tax and everything else. That doesn't mean more funding.
But doesn't that mean our general fund and our TIF fund goes up
Based on levies.
with more homes?
I have a question.
With TIF fund would increase. That's the only two questions I have. Thank you very much.
I'd like to build off of that point. While it is true that the levies remain the same and it lowers, okay, if it's an existing levy, I spoke specifically with the auditor's department. I did not call them about this to file a complaint, but I read that to them. If you take that statement alone, does not increase the funding for the fire department, that's not a true statement. If you have the other levy that comes on, it will increase. This is not just about the renewal. It is about both levies. So on the renewal, it is correct. On the new levy, you are going to see an increase. And I took a look at that and ran off, quite frankly, quite a few auditor pages. And I think one of the things you want to look at here, and I know the Village of Cleves is looking at this because I got an email, which I'll be glad to read at some point. But the percentage increase for every property owner, regardless of where they live in the Miami Township, will increase 125%. That is the percentage of increase. We're talking about mills, but mills are not the only story. I have, for example, and I'm not going to mention what the address is, but right on the auditor's page, it will tell you about this renewal increase, 6.50. This property owner this year paid $445.15. If this levy passes, it'll go to $1,171. That is a 125% increase. When you're looking at an inflation rate right now, if you want to believe what the government's saying, of about 2%. Yeah. I'm sorry? Has nothing to do with it. If you go out on Jordan Road or East Miami and take one of the lowest I've got it in here. They were paying $1 or something for their fire levy, and it went up 125%. So it went up to like $3 and something. The percentage is the same regardless of where you live in Miami Township.
Is that based on the 6.5 million or?
What's more? Exactly.
Right now, everybody's paying 3 million.
Mayor, do you have this?
What's that? Yeah, and it's totally inaccurate. Yes, I do.
I'm not talking about the new stuff.
Which is what?
this is a two-sided fact sheet. We can only fit it. Was it the door? There's the alpha, that's a fact sheet that is more comprehensive. That's evaluation, right?
I'm sorry?
So we put what we thought was the most pertinent information in the newsletter. That's a newsletter that's, we only have so much space, and the goal was to dedicate and inform the public the best as far as what they really need to know at the base level. That fact sheet was produced, I understand, from whatever committee, and to get information out. Right. And so that.
Why was this not mailed to every resident then?
Well, we can't, that we can't coordinate this. We're not doing anything.
You have a committee. If you're dealing with facts, if they're facts, you have the right to educate your public.
Right.
That's not saying vote for the levy. There's a huge difference between the two.
Right.
And this doesn't say vote for the levy. It's called an upcoming fire levy facts. And if they're facts, you have nothing to worry about. So you can mail it.
Sure.
Why wasn't it mailed?
We put a lot of information in on to educate our voters about all kinds of things. The committee, as you know, we don't control the committee. We don't coordinate with the committee. The committee does whatever they want to do as far as trying to educate voters. And they put that fact sheet together, and that they're trying to get that out. So
who's they? Which committee are we talking about?
whatever, again, obviously this is not.
I'm just asking a question. What committee are we talking about? Are we talking about the one that Chief Ober is chairing? Are we talking about the finance committee?
This the finance committee, I believe.
Okay, so this is through your finance committee. They are reporting this out to you as trustees.
The finance committee. So the finance, my understanding, and Mr. Brett and Ms. Oster can probably answer better than I. The finance committee helped come up with facts, but then whatever the other committee is the one that put that fact sheet together, and then I hope, working to try to get that information. So this is not the township, this is not the township finance committee. This is, I guess.
I sort of understand what you're saying, and I guess what I'm saying about that is that one of the things you're going to have to face is if you go up to McDonald's or you go into any restaurant, you'll have people saying, I heard there's a levy, but I don't know anything about it. Now, Tom, you're here today. Am I correct on that?
Absolutely correct.
So when you run a levy, you can say anything you want to say before you put it on the ballot. Quite frankly, you guys have reversed it just like the Village of Cleves has reversed it over the years. They tend to put something on before they make the public aware. We in the Village of Cleves are going to reverse that process. We will hold public meetings before we decide to put anything on the ballot. Did you hold a public meeting to even discuss this before you decided to put it on the ballot? That's a township meeting that very few people attend. You know well from attending the last council meeting in Cleves, we had a very large crowd there, correct? And we had a large crowd there because we made sure people that were affected were made aware. I'm just saying, before you put things on the ballot, same thing happened in the Village of Cleves. It was discussed after the fact. There was no discussion with the Village of Cleves formally about why you needed this. And there's other questions that should be asked. I will probably just hand those to you over the week, but there's a number of other questions that are unanswered. Staffing issues for one. What's your staffing now versus when Brian Lacey was your chief? How much overtime have you had to spend since you came on board versus when Brian Lacy was here? How much training? I'll just put one out there, hazmat training. How much actual hazmat training has taken place that can be documented since you became chief?
I would just like to say that this is our third basket meeting to try to work to educate the public on this issue. And we have, there's some newsletters, we, some social media,
You see a large crowd here today? I had more people at the last council meeting. No, you can't, but you can send letters out and make sure they're aware of it.
yeah, it's right here.
That's a newsletter that just came out. It just came out.
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
They immediately let every parent of every student know immediately. I'm an elderly person that lives within 2 miles of the chemical cell. Mayor Warhol, how did you let the citizens know? All the citizens. How did you let all the citizens know?
Mrs. Boyce, we went ahead and we texted out, which many of the people sitting in here in this room, if they have signed up for text alerts, we sent everything out there. We have sent them out through the emails also. When it came, no.
8 p.m. This happened at 12:45, and the citizens did not know who was voting for you.
That's not.
Not this.
All right, that's enough. We're in the middle of the meeting, okay, let's keep it professional. All right. I would just say this very briefly, and then we'll take more questions. But we board of trustees, we've got a recommendation from our finance committee, our fire chief, put this on the levy. It was unanimous from our first call for city user. City, you've been here how many years? Well, 30, 20, 30, 32 years you've been at this school for Miami Township. We are trying to do what we believe is the best interest of Miami Township and its residents. So our fire department can respond in a timely manner. We can keep up our salaries, staff our firemen and firewomen appropriately like we should in the future. So when they respond to your home, they've been to your house before, and I get nothing but great comments about our fire department. We are not only trying to keep that up this year and next year, but for years to come. And everyone knows that the cost of everything is shot up. So this is a big, it's an increase for us, and we're asking for renewal increase. But besides the law enforcement, our community, the fire department is right there. Now, you got a horrible community. We don't keep our, we try to buy, we don't try, we do. We buy our fire department top-notch equipment to respond to our residents' homes so they can either save a life or put out a fire or whatever the emergency is. And I've always said, and I've been here for 12 years now, the fire department, law enforcement, in any community in the school district should be your top priority to keep your community safe and nice for people to live, work, and raise your family. So that's why we put this levy on. And, you know, there's always going to be people that don't agree with it. We understand that. Again, I like to say this, we're trying to do what we think is in the best interest of Miami Township, what is the best interest of our residents. That's what we're trying to do. We'll take a few more questions.
Can I just think about it? I agree with everything Dan said, and I'll just say, you have your first responders in case, but what else? And we just saw that play out. It's, you hope it doesn't happen, but inevitably things are gonna happen. And the fact that we have a fire department that could respond and deal with the issue at hand and handle the situation. And that we can sit here today and say, we're very proud of them and the job that they did. That was because we are staffing them, we are supporting them and funding them. That's necessary. And so we hope these drownings don't happen. We hope these rail car incidents don't happen. We hope these major mass fire issues don't happen, but unfortunately they do. We have to be prepared. So I agree with what David said. Yes.
I'd like to follow up. I don't want you to think when I question the board that I'm doubting your decision. The reason I question you is because it gives me information. When I go out to eat with friends or stop in a restaurant and people ask me questions that I can give or why not we need. That's the reason I ask questions about where this money goes, because that's the questions the average person wants to know. So I don't want you to think I'm being critical of nitpicking it. I'm doing it for my own benefit to find out where our money's going and how we're utilizing it. But while I'm talking and I'll shut up, there has to be a game plan if this levy goes down. What is that game plan, or have we discussed that on what we're going to do to keep this fire department running at its current level? Have we considered that? Because we got to be quite honest. We're 6 weeks away from an election, and we got to be able to say, hey, it's a possibility we might have to shut a fire off. We don't want.
That is a possibility.
It is a possibility. And when you tell people that is a true fact, reality question, we might have to drop coverage. People might look at it, well, I don't want to spend, but I need coverage, or I want coverage. And some people frankly don't give a crap. But if you look on here, it tells me that 78% of our calls are EMS. That's a lot. And there's a damn good chance everyone in this room is going to need an EMS before they put your fire out. It's going to be a health issue.
Yes, sir.
And I'll shut up.
Go ahead.
The only question, well, the next question I have. Communication. We have a board out here that says Levy Township, community center, fire department, time, date. You put something on there saying, meeting about tax, right? Such and such a date.
We're trying to figure it out. We have it on Facebook page, or website. I won't do all of that.
I'm just following me.
Okay.
I can answer that for you, sir.
If you put it up out there, people drive by and remember it, you can see it.
I can answer that question. We did have it on the electronic message board and the speaker center. The board out here is a board that is so old we can't get it fixed. We can't make the changes that we need to, and we're in the process of getting pricing on replacement. So hopefully sometime soon you'll see a nice new full color board out there that we'll be able to get more information out on. We'll look at old and outdated, and we can't like parts for it anymore.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I hope you get it done.
Go ahead, sir.
My name is Tom Wagner. Mine reference is communication. We're 6 weeks away from election. I get this in the mail on the 25th, I think it was the 25th, last Wednesday. Okay, I have not seen, I didn't know anything about this levy or what have you. I haven't seen a sign around the old Miami Township saying for or against the fire levy. Is there not going to be, whoever this committee is, that they're not going to post anything so the rest of the residents know? Once I got this letter, some of my own neighbors didn't even get one because it came through the snail mail. Is there a better way to communicate this stuff to the residents or what? I mean, It's like, what letter are you talking about? When I go to the letter, here it is.
So, with what we can do by law.
And I don't remember exactly what it happened. A few years back, a school board somewhere here in Ohio used taxpayer money to promote a levy. And, which is, you're not allowed to, you're never allowed to do that. You know, I'm sure they had the best interest of their community at heart by doing it, but it's illegal to do. So the state came up with a whole list of new items that you can and can't do as elected officials. That's why we're sitting here presenting facts. We're not telling you to vote for or against the levy. And that's for all ballot issues. So we're limited. That's why a couple people stepped up, formed that group. But all we can do is give them information. We can't tell them what to do. All we can do is provide them the information, what they do. And if you'd like to leave your name and number with me, if you'd like to get in touch with them, I will pass that along. That's really all the township employees and elected officials can do. Now, I'm going to get on my soapbox for just 30 seconds and say, I think that is totally crazy. I don't think that should be in the law. I talked to our state representatives and our state senator about it. At one point in time, I believe it was when the states had their last levy on. The current understanding of the rule at that time was the elected officials could not even thank the voters for passing a levy if they passed it. I think that was ridiculous. I think the people who are the most informed, like the trustees, like the mayor, they should be able to go out and explain to people why they're asking for a levy, but we're not allowed to do that. So,
I understand all that. I was in the fire service.
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Moreline, I guess, made things a little bit clearer on the objective here. It sounds like you guys are trying to separate the fire department's monies. And that's not a bad thing. And transparency to the public, that's good. I guess my question is, how much money has been coming out of the general fund for salaries, benefits? Okay, if this levy passes, is it 500,000, 600,000 that was coming out of the general fund? If this levy passes, will that money that was previously coming out of the general fund somehow or another be given back to the public? Or is this just extra money?
She was, yeah, that's what Cindy said. But by the way, Cindy had a wedding she had to attend, and that's why she had to slip out. So, but just kind of in round numbers, aside from the general fund money, we spent a lot of TIP fund money on buying equipment and things. So, my estimate for 2025 is that we're gonna spend about $2,800,000 in salaries, about $1,550,000 in benefits. But our non-employee operating expenses are gonna be $1,100,000. The three villages choose to the amount that we requested. A total levy money of $3,571,873. Our total employee cost of 2025 is going to be $4,372,505. That's the best guess. So we're gonna be short on covering salary and benefits with the levy income. And that money will have to come from our general fund and our TIP fund.
Okay, but it still sounds like your general fund is going to be, have millions of dollars more in it than you had before.
Well, no, because the increase is, about 1,300,000 in total levy money from the contracts in the township. So it's not gonna flush out money for everything else, but it is gonna help offset the rising salary costs and benefit costs.
The TIF money won't change. You'll still be able to use that for equipment, right? And it's not your intention to change that.
I don't know if talk with Cindy and the finance committee, but I believe that there's a firm commitment to spend at least the current amount of money on the fire department, that they spend now, plus more, as equipment becomes more expensive.
Mr. Brockles,
I'm
do
sorry?
you have a question?
No.
Mr. Hughes?
Just real quick, Jason, so we're doing 3.5, renewal, remill, addition. Why didn't we lump those together? Why not vote them separately? At least if we've had 3.5 renewal, then everybody shoots you right now, is still some of that funding coming in. And if they both fail, obviously we already crossed that bridge. But my next question is, if they both pass, how long is that money good for before we're coming back to the voters again? Because it sounds to me like we're gonna run out pretty quickly and get back into the general fund, where we're trying to get away from, make the fire department be a standalone entity. So if we're going 3.5, 3, why wouldn't, if we're trying to make it be a standalone entity and not dig into the general fund, why wouldn't we go for more? To make it standalone, so you don't have to come back to us next year, we go through the same thing, if that's what happens, is that what we're gonna be, are we gonna be back here, hey, you need more?
I don't anticipate we're gonna be back next year. That's, yeah, I'm gonna try to.
I do.
Again, as the gentleman said, this is a horrible time to have that. It's never a good time to have really increasing taxes. So, we're trying to ask for what we can get by with and hopefully stretch it out, make it work as long as possible, and still provide the best quality service to the community as we can. We just, even 3.5 mil, as everyone here said, it's a lot of money. We understand that, and it's hard. I'm looking at a 4.5 mil where I live, and it's hard. I understand, and there's, I think, barriers that. I'm at an age where 78% of our residents are EMS. I'm in that group that may need that. And to that point, because so many of our residents are EMS runs, we actually interviewed, before we hired Chief Human, at the same time, we interviewed the EMS director for the city of Township. Just because we know that EMS is a big part of what we do. And I had to tell him afterwards, he could tell in the interview, he said, I realize I probably don't have as much fire experience that you're looking for. And then he walked up to he said, but if you don't hire me, you should hire Matt too. So I told him afterwards, that you shouldn't recommend somebody else when you're applying for the job.
My name is Tim Murray, I just think it,
I'm sorry, hold on real quick, the chief likes this.
Jason, the finance committee did talk about increasing it to 6 mil instead of 3. But I guess that conversation before I got here. It's inflation rates and everything else, looking out. There was no more than bringing that to the current.
I appreciate that, I think my biggest worry is we pass it, how long is it gonna last, and then when are we gonna be digging right back into the general fund? Because that's what we're trying.
For me, I think that this would be what, 4 out of 6 years. So we're looking at about 5 years, and all we have to do, we have to rely on a fiscal officer, within 30+ years, tell us what we can expect. And he saying that we can expect 5 years at this point. So,
And then I want to comment on this too, but right to you, sir, but like when we have, let's say both our levies pass, and we have that extra 500,000, 600,000. It's something where, with the increases where the other bills we pay, where we won't have to come back to the bills, use that. It's not money we would, just like, it's a business, just costs are increasing every single year. So with that extra money, we will use that to offset a lot of these costs in the future. So it's not like we're gonna have millions piling up. I don't think. Now, to be incorrect on that, positive, but the Phoenix here, I think she could tell you, more appropriately, like what we would use that money for at the time. But right now, we're looking at the fire levy and the police agreement. That's good.
and isn't it correct that that has increased 20-some years the general fund operating? Okay, so it might be 50 years. So, I mean, think about how much this township has grown in the last 50 years, right? Fire, police, road, maintenance, all the other things that happen. So, we've been paying either, I mean, we're playing, moving things around to try to make this work and be as fiscally responsible as we can. But at the end of the day, I think it is better to have a true reflection of what does our fire department cost? Can we fund the fire department with what it's meant to be funded with, which is the fire levy? And then, our other operation that we have to stay up with electric and just keeping everything running. With Dan said, the cost of everything is increasing now. So that's just where that's going to go, just to keep up with the day-to-day operation of this township.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Again, my name is Tim Harvey. There's a lot of good information going by here and everything. I know the newsletter probably costs a lot to put out, but it seems like it might be worthwhile to make something up, so like the mayor said, and just given the facts that you've said here, because people don't know, and people aren't always on Facebook or on social media. And so maybe make up another letter just about this, discussing what we discussed here. And it might be very much worth the cost of sending it out, so people know, because you see that and you don't know what it's about. And like people have said, so it might be very much worthwhile to do that.
Any more questions, Mr. Judy?
A lot of questions.
Go ahead, sir. I can't tell you that. Our physical officer's down here to you got the answer to that. We are here on hasn't been raised, levy hasn't been raised, I believe.
I know about 2 years ago, we brought up, I sent you the end of that. I don't remember if it was exactly 4 million or 5 million in our regional fund. The other board voted, they want that money out to their CD. I was at the meeting, and I hadn't heard anything else about it.
Yeah, do you want to call Cindy or meet with Jen? We can get you the information on exactly what we have, how much money we have, and where it's
Finally, I said it in the meeting.
Well, also, Jim and Cindy created a coffee with Jim and Cindy, as an additional effort to be transparent and be available to the public. So again, you guys can always attend our regularly scheduled meetings. You can attend these special elections meetings. We have these coffee meetings that our administrator and fiscal officer offer, or you can just request a meeting. So we are trying to go out of our way to be accessible and transparent. And so that's another option if you want to attend one of those coffee meetings.
I have it here. Normally, I would have to listen to the database of saying what's in that general fund right now. But if you notice when you came in, there was a note on the door that they used the storm. The storm wiped out the with our internet connection, to go back on our, operating system tonight. They don't have access to that right now. I just tried to access it and pull up again.
I was just curious.
Yeah.
But I have to read that meeting.
Yeah.
We could definitely get it.
Yeah.
Mr. Hughes, go ahead.
I got my history with Miami Township and taxes and that, we travel all the way. Being an expired chief, being a volunteer, et cetera. Never seen a levy close to fail here in this township, right? I think the last one we passed was like 70+%. The lowest we passed is 60 over the years. Yeah.
Put it back on in the past.
I wish I would have been part of at least discussion with combining the renewal and renew. I think we would have been smarter if we'd have went with a renewal now and then wait till next year and try to put on the additional millage that we need to continue. My concern is what if it fails? What's Matt gonna do when he finds out he's got $50,000, I don't know what it is, but just a penny to run this fire department? He's gonna be forced to make drastic changes that the residents are not gonna be happy about. That's closing the station. Because if the finances aren't there, they're not gonna be able to provide the service. And he's been doing out there running around with a fire truck and a hose. That's crazy. I'm concerned about it. I know we need it. I know, but the cost of living, and people on fixed salaries, I wish we would have split them up and put renewal on this time and waited till next year. That's just me, and put on the additional, and then, and I know the renewal will go through without even blinking an eye. I'm scared of it not.
Any comments from the board?
No, I think it's good to have these conversations, and it's good for us to listen and hear and dialogue. So that's what, with this concept of the investors meeting, that's what it's all about. And so appreciate everyone attending and giving us, your thoughts.
Why could who made that decision?
What's that?
Combine the two? Who was on your staff or whoever that said, this is what we're gonna do? And was it easier to do it that way, or was it cheaper to do it that way? What was the reasoning to combine the two?
I don't know.
Well, I'm just saying, yeah, I don't.
A lot of conversation came up with it. Separate levy now, right? We have one after the other, right? And we end up with still the same situation.
Well, but we wouldn't lose 3.5 though with the fair combined. That's my view. That's, and how much money do we bring in, Billy, for EMS roughly?
Around 320? Around 320,000.
320,000, like you said, 600. But that's non-resident. Correct? That's insurance if they had it, if the insurance pays it.
We only bill insurance, we don't bill anything.